OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Outcasted OC this week. Again, I am covering NXT for yous this week. Now, this start of the show is absolutely kind of insane because I was counting it. I feel like we went about 25 minutes without a match. It was crazy. But before we get into the actual show, I just want to say thank you for all the support lately on the channel, guys. We're doing really well, 180 odd subscribers. We appreciate every single one of you guys doing that. If you want to support us, make sure you like the video, make sure you share the video and subscribe. Do whatever you absolutely want to do. Right, let's get into the show because, like I say, this opening is just... It baffled me how long we went without a match. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was worth the wait because we got a great match, but you know, I kind of want more matches on the start of the NXT because I was just sat there like, well, this is interesting what's going on, but, you know, I want to see the graps, man. I want to see the grapples. So Becky Lynch comes out and basically talks about what happened last week. She is big time Beck. She starts talking about all the women back there, they can have an opportunity at the championship. She actually even does like a poetry sort of session where she rhymes all of the competitors backstage into a rhyme. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't write it down because it was a bit cringe. It was okay, but it was a bit cringe for my liking, to be honest with you. But you know, it is what it is. It is cool. She turned around and said N Bex T. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't think the crowd picked up on it though. I think they just thought she said NXT because I don't think they were chanting that. But you know, I call it N Bex T. Sounds really cool. She does give Tiffany Straton her flowers, to be fair. She says she did really well last week and the match that they had was incredible and she can have a rematch anytime she wants, which then brings out Tiffany Straton and says, oh, I think we should have our match soon. In fact, maybe we should even have our match tonight. And all the crowd go absolutely mad. And then Tiffany obviously goes, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. I knew you guys would like that. That's why it's not happening. She wants her rematch on a bigger stage, so she suggests No Mercy. Becky Lynch says that's absolutely fine, Tiff, but the rematch is going to be absolutely the same result as it was last week. Tiffany Straton then turns around and says to Becky that she's coming back for the championship, but Becky says she's not hungry enough. She's too entitled. Oh, and by the way, earlier in the promo, she called her an arsehole. So, you know, that's nice. That's very nice, Becky. That's lovely. Lovely language on the USA Network this week, guys. So obviously Becky Lynch calling Tiffany Stratton entitled. That makes Tiffany very, very annoyed and says, listen, before you showed up, these fans were cheering me. So they're fickle. They were cheering me before you even got here. Obviously, they're not cheering me anymore. She says, how about you go get clout by going to different retirement homes and wrestling Hall of Famers to try and make a name for yourself, etc. Becky Lynch turns around and says, you know, clearly you can't go one-on-one with the man on the microphone, so let's do it one-on-one in the ring, and starts beating Tiffany Stratton down. Unfortunately, Kiana James comes out and also starts beating Becky Lynch down. She manages to overpower them both. And later on, we will see what happens with that in the main event. We then go backstage, guys, to Tony D and Stacks, where they are sat eating and they're talking about how are they going to decide who the next #1 contenders are for the NXT Tag Team Championships. They've decided they're going to sit all of the viable tag teams down and have a discussion with them at the table to see who is worthy to face them for the Tag Team Championships. Tony D even suggests, let me just find out the name because I forgot about it. Oh, yeah. He said he's even going to ring his uncle Cesare to make some tortellini for the sit-down next week. They already suggested the Creed brothers because what Tony D likes about those guys is they're straightforward and there's no nonsense. They also suggest Nima and Price because they are a viable tag team. They've been making waves for themselves. And they also suggest Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, because once again, they are also viable threats. They also talk about Hank and Tank, but Nima and Price and Hank and Tank are going to have to fight it out to get to the table because there's only one spot left, and they've already decided to give it to Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza and the Creed brothers. So after this, once again, this is what I mean by so many backstage segments. We then go backstage to Ilya Dragunov, who is having a backstage interview where he's talking about the war that he went through with Wesley last week was absolutely intense, and he's still feeling and he's still hurting from that war last week. but he's going to be pushing forward, heading to No Mercy to face Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. Becky Lynch then shows up and says, Ilya, do you mind if I take over this interview? Ilya has absolutely no problem with that. So Becky Lynch goes, I tell you what, Kiana, and I tell you what, Tiffany Straton, you two versus me, 2-on-1 tonight in the main event. So it's going to be a main event between Tiffany Straton and Kiana James versus Becky Lynch. Or else that's what we thought, because later on in the night, Roxanne Perez confronts Becky Lynch and says to her, you know, I idolized you, you know, you're amazing. I'm gonna lick your bum, exactly, you know, pretty much. and turns around and says, you don't have to do it by yourself. I'll be your tag team partner. Becky Lynch says it's fine. Look, you need to go to the trainer's room and get your shoulder sorted out because later on, Roxanne has a match and she gets her shoulder injured. So Becky doesn't want her as a tag team partner. So Roxy says, okay, no worries. Later on in the night, we find out that Lyra Valkyria is going to be Becky Lynch's tag team partner, but we will get to that. But we are not there yet, ladies and gentlemen, because guess what? We then have another backstage segment, although should I say on the ramp segment. It is Noam Dar's Supernova sessions where like they're all dressed as the Matrix. They're all talking a lot of nonsense that it doesn't matter who's going to win the tournament because at No Mercy the arrangement is still going to be the same. He's pretty much doing like, I believe it's like a Morpheus impression or something. It's Matrix. It's Noam Dar. It's funny. Okay. So he then gets interrupted by Pete Dunne's entrance music. Pete Dunne is heading down to the ring for the first match of the night. But we are still not there, guys, because we have another backstage segment where Dominic Mysterio is talking to Trick Williams saying, you know, how does it feel to be out of Carmelo Hayes' shadow? You know, you need to start making a name for yourself, and it's fine that you've dropped that weight, and it's fine that, you know, you're now out of Melo's shadow. Trick Williams turns around and goes, have you seen me? I don't need to be in anyone's shadow. In fact, I wouldn't even fit in anyone's shadow. And by the way, it's still Trick Melo gang. We're still friends, etc. This is a trend that carries on all through the night, by the way. We'll get to that in a moment. But Dominic Mysterio starts laughing, and Trick goes, what's so funny? And he goes, it's exactly what I used to think about my deadbeat dad. And look at me now, I'm the North American champion once I came out of his shadow. We find out later on that Trick Williams has been watching Carmelo Hayes' match that he's been involved in with Dominic Mysterio, but we'll be talking about that match later on. But we'll talk about the Trick Williams segment now, where he is watching that match, and then he's confronted by Joe Gacy and Ava Raine, talking about now that he's by himself, and like you can tell by the look on his face that he is hurt and saddened by the loss of his friend, that he doesn't hang around with him anymore. And Trick goes, "This ain't sadness. This is olive oil." I thought that was pretty funny. And he says, you two guys need to stay away from me. You're creepy, you're weird, get the hell away from me. But people look like they try to either recruit or try to turn Trick Williams against Carmelo Hayes. And up to now, Trick Williams is Trick Melo gang all the way. Now, guys, finally, thank God, we get to the first match of the night. And what a banger it is. It is worth the wait. We get Tyler Bate versus, I'm going to call him Pete Dunne, baby, because he's wearing his NXT outfit and he is just acting like Pete Dunne throughout this whole match, and I absolutely love it. So just to put this into clarification right now, in the tournament, Pete Dunne needs a victory. He cannot draw with Tyler Bate to win the bracket. He needs a victory. He needs those 2 points. If Tyler Bate wins this match, obviously he is the clear victor of the bracket because he has had 2 wins from now. He is 1 point ahead of Pete Dunne. He is on, I believe, so Pete Dunne is on 3 points. Tyler Bate is on 4 points. So like I say, Pete Dunne needs the victory. If it comes to a draw, Tyler Bate still wins. He would be on 5 points and Pete Dunne would be on 4 points. And this is a very, very good match. I just want to talk about the ending because I don't want to spoil it for you guys who haven't watched it yet. They are both hitting each other's finishing moves. Really, really cool to see. So Pete Dunne hits the Tyler Driver 97 and Tyler Bate hits the bitter end. Both of them kick out of each other's own finishing moves. Really, really cool to see. There's a moment here where Pete Dunne finally hits the bitter end on Tyler Bate and he kicks out. So Pete Dunne then hits the better end, his other finishing move that he only really brings out when he can't win a match with the bitter end. 1, 2, 3. Pete Dunne beats Tyler Bate and advances to the final match in the tournament against later on tonight's winner of the match that I'm going to be talking about in a little minute. So Tyler Bate, I was surprised that Tyler Bate lost this match. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think Pete Dunne was going to advance into the finals of the tournament. But I'm happy that he did, because I have a feeling he's going to be beating the person who, won the other match. I can't say it yet because we've not talked about it, but I have a feeling he is going to be beating that person, guys. So I'm happy about that. I don't know where Tyler Bate goes from here. If I'm being honest with you, I think Tyler Bate should move up to the main roster, because I just think it's time. It's so overdue that Tyler Bate goes up to the main roster. I just think it'd be so cool. Maybe even goes to join the Brawling Brutes, but I would quite like him by himself, maybe on Raw, even on SmackDown. I don't know. In fact, now that I've said it, actually, SmackDown. I'd love him on SmackDown. Give me Tyler Bate on SmackDown every single week, please. Thank you very much. We now go backstage, surprise, surprise, again to, well, actually, it's not backstage. It's Thea Hale and JC Jane going shopping. Let's go shopping. So last week we saw that they were in a bar and two guys started talking to him. And JC Jane says to Thea Hale that, it's time for basically a makeover. So they go into the shop and they're trying loads of different outfits. It's kind of like JC Jane, that classic segment that you see in some films where JC Jane is sat outside the changing room and Thea Hale comes out in different outfits. Well, that's what they're doing in this. And then she finally finds an outfit that she loves, and she walks out with loads and loads of bags. And hopefully next week we will see the new and improved Thea Hale on NXT. So that's going to be cool. Next match, guys, in the other bracket of the NXT Heritage Cup tournament, we have Duke Hudson versus Joe Coffey. Now, the point of this match is if Duke Hudson beats Joe Coffey, it goes to a triple threat tie in this bracket. Nathan Fraser, Duke Hudson, and Joe Coffey will all be on the same amount of points, and then it would have to be a triple threat match to decide what's going to go and happen there. If Joe Coffey wins this match, then he wins the entire group, and then he goes on to face Pete Dunne to face Noam Dar eventually for the Heritage Cup at No Mercy. We see an end to this match where I nearly said Joe Gacy then, where Joe Coffey goes for the Glasgow send-off. He hits the Glasgow send-off. However, Duke Hudson is able to roll him up as he's going in for a second move and gets the 1-2-3, meaning that there is going to be a triple threat match for the decision for this bracket of who is going to go and face Pete Dunne. Nathan Fraser is talking about this backstage about how he's buzzing. I basically literally just said in my notes here that Nathan Fraser is cringe, because he is cringe, and that's how I feel. And I'm very sorry that if you like him, I love him in the ring, but he is so cringe on the microphone. He's talking about he is going to be winning that triple threat match next week. However, Mackenzie gets some breaking news in her ear that the triple threat match is going to be taking place not next week, but tonight. Tonight is going to be the decision. It's going to be Nathan Fraser versus Duke Hudson versus Joe Coffey, and the winner will face Pete Dunne in the final of the tournament. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for that, guys. I've already seen it, but I can't wait to talk to you about it. Next, we get Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice. Obviously, this came from last week when they had a bit of a confrontation backstage, where Lola Vice says she doesn't like Roxanne's new attitude and she isn't welcome in the locker room. Basically, Roxanne says, you're welcome to step up and do something about it. This is a really cool match. I actually quite liked it. I actually really enjoyed it, mainly because I love Lola Vice. I think she's got a lot to offer the NXT locker room, and she's got a lot to offer in the future if they keep building her up properly. So, hopefully we get to see a lot more of what Lola Vice can do in the coming weeks. So this match ends where Roxanne Perez is going for Pop Rocks. It is then countered into a submission move, and I thought maybe this was going to be the end of this because Roxanne Perez was nowhere near the ropes, but she's able to roll through and pin Lola Vice for the victory. So Roxanne Perez comes out with that win. Obviously that wasn't the last that we saw of her. We like I've already talked about it. We saw her later on in the night talking to Becky Lynch about what's going to be happening later on tonight in that tag team match. But for now, guys, we go backstage to Eddie Thorpe, who is really upset about his tree. Do you remember, guys, last week where there was a backstage segment where Eddie was talking in an interview, and then Dijak appeared on the screen and he was stood in front of his tree and he started whipping his tree with his belt, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. It might have been one of the worst segments I've ever seen on NXT, but at the same time, does that make it the best segment on NXT? Because that's why I've tuned into NXT. I don't know about you guys. I tune into NXT for those reasons. So, Eddie Thorpe is talking about how he knows what Dijak was trying to do. He was trying to bring out like the wilder side of him. And he says, you might as well just say it, Dijak. You're being offensive to my culture. You want me to bring out the savage. Well, do you know what? I do want to bring out the savage. And next week, we're settling this in a strap match. So next week, it's going to be Dijak versus Eddie Thorpe in a strap match, which I'm pretty, I'm pretty excited for that. I'm not going to lie to you. I quite like Eddie Thorpe. And you guys know how I feel about Dijak. I don't think he gets enough love. I'm not going to lie to you. Like I really don't think he gets enough love. But next, guys, we go to a match, and it is finally another match. We get Dominic Mysterio, the North American champion, versus Carmelo Hayes, the NXT champion, who is going to be the A champion at the end of this match. Ilya Dragunov is on commentary for this match, and Booker T is asking him, stop being so nice, Dragunov. Who do you want to win this match? And even Dragunov says, preferably I want Carmelo Hayes to win. This match comes to a close here where Carmelo Hayes accidentally throws Dominic Mysterio into Dragunov while he sat down and knocks him over. Dominic Mysterio then does the exact same. He drags Carmelo Hayes up and throws him into the ring. For some reason, then, he turns around and absolutely slaps the crap out of Ilya Dragunov. What a slap off Dominic Mysterio. He then jumps in the ring. Obviously, Dragunov just absolutely loses his mind here and starts beating down Dominic for the disqualification. Then we find out why Dom has done that, because he wants the victory. Obviously, Dragunov has attacked him, so Carmelo Hayes gets disqualified, and Dominic Mysterio comes out with the win here. He's very, very proud of himself until Dragunov hits him with the H-bomb. He goes to hit him with a Torpedo Moscow. Dominic Mysterio jumps out of the ring. He misses Dominic and hits Carmelo Hayes with the Torpedo Moscow. While, once again, Dominic Mysterio is feeling very proud of himself on the ramp, he turns around right into a super kick from Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee hits him clean with a super kick. And I just want to point out how much I love Dominic Mysterio in NXT. And I've said this over the past couple of weeks that I think he's really, really growing on the brand. I was one of those people who said he did kind of need to go back down to NXT, maybe to get a bit of a, bit of ring oil, if that's a thing. Is that a thing? Is ring oil a thing? I don't know. It is now. He's lubing himself up to be better in the ring, to be a bit more smoother and more. I'm going to move on, okay? Listen, forget I said ring oil, okay? Forget I said ring oil. But he's better in NXT, that's what I'm trying to say. It's improving his main roster performances as well, because he's getting the work in NXT, because I'm assuming he's also working out in the Performance Center. Ring oil. I love it. So Duke Hudson is backstage, all tired out, obviously, from his match that he beat Joe Coffey. He said he's a tough guy, he's one of the biggest guys, but he beat him. Andre Chase says, you can't rest on your laurels. You've got a triple threat match, and he starts hyping it up, and he goes, Duke, are you the MVP? And Duke says, yeah. And Chase goes, are you the spoiler? And Duke says, yeah. And he goes, are you going to go on to win this match? He goes, yeah. So he's hyping up Duke Hudson to win tonight's triple threat match. Let's see if it all pays off, and let's see if Andre Chase's hype speech, helped in any way. So now we got Nima, Price, and Scripps basically hustling people to see what, to get loads of money. They're making that dough, yo. They're hustling, they're playing dice and stuff, yo, because from the streets. And Scripps says, that's why I like hanging around you guys, because you're from the streets and there's no BS, and you know what it's like to grow up with nothing and things and stuff. And I'm an acrobat, did I mention? And now I'm hanging around with you two. I used to have this weird mask, and it was weird because you could clearly see my face through it, and no one liked it, and people knew I was Reggie, and only certain people can call me Scripps, and I'm an acrobat. Sorry, guys. Reggie just makes me laugh. Why is he here? I don't believe him in this role whatsoever. I don't believe him in this role. He just doesn't suit it. He used to be a sommelier for Carmelo. How are you a street cat? How you used to be a sommelier, then he was an acrobat, then he was a 24/7 champion, then you're a luchador, and now you're a street guy with Nima and Price. Okay, that makes sense. I do want to drop a little thing about this segment. Obviously, they're talking about getting into the table to talk with Tony D and Stacks about the tag team championships. But I do want to say, one of them says after they beat the guys in that game of dice where they get the money, yeah. One of them says using bus tokens, partner. And for me, the first thing I thought was Too Fast, Too Furious. It's a reference to Too Fast, Too Furious where Rome says it to one of the guys, you know, when they win their muscle cars. If you've ever seen Too Fast, Too Furious, yeah, that's a reference that I noticed. So I was very happy about it. Hank and Tank are also talking about the tag teams and getting into that tape. Who cares? I don't care about Hank and Tank. Like they're all just saying the same thing. Okay. So now we get to the triple threat match, which is Nathan Fraser and Duke Hudson and Joe Coffey. This was a really, really cool match. It ends though with a huge spike DDT coming from Nathan Fraser onto Duke Hudson. It looked like a really like gnarly landing, but it looked really cool at the same time. So then Nathan Fraser goes up for the Phoenix Splash. He hits the Phoenix Splash. Joe Coffey throws him out of the ring and then hits a Glasgow send-off for the 1-2-3. Joe Coffey is going to the finals of this tournament to face Pete Dunne to go on to face Noam Dar for the Heritage Cup. I am looking forward to that match. I don't know if you guys remember, but that was actually the main event of the very first NXT UK takeover for the NXT UK Championship, Pete Dunne versus Joe Coffey, way back in like 2018. The night that Walter or Gunther debuted. If you guys remember that, go back and watch it because it was an absolutely incredible match. Joe Coffey can have great matches when he wants to. So I'm looking forward to this. Pete Dunne versus Joe Coffey. I think Pete Dunne's probably going to win because it's going to be like, you know, face versus heel. But then again, Joe Coffey versus Noam Dar. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, what a really good performance from Nathan Fraser and Duke Hudson, to be fair, but it wasn't to be. Joe Coffey is the victor in this situation. We now go backstage where Mustafa Ali has a very good point. I'm not going to lie. I actually agreed with him in this. So he's on talking about how obviously the match ended a couple of weeks ago, you know, where Dominic Mysterio counted fast so that Dragon Lee was pinned really quickly and that's how Ali won. But in actual fact, at the end of the day, that had nothing to do with Ali. Like, I mean, he won that match in like nefarious ways, but he wasn't the one who counted the pin. He also wasn't the one who decided that's the way the victory was going to be. So Dragon Lee is mad at Ali for some reason, but he said Ali, he was watching Monday Night Raw, and then obviously like a graphic came up, and it was Dominic Mysterio versus Dragon Lee next week on Raw for the NXT North American Championship. And Ali makes a very good point here. Why is the person that he beat getting a North American Championship match before he did? Also, why is Dragon Lee mad at Ali? Because Ali said when he goes on to win the North American Championship at No Mercy, he was going to be the first ones he wanted to face. I don't understand, and I actually do agree with Ali. And he said he's going to fix the situation on Raw this week, so I'm assuming he's probably going to interfere or something like that. We say backstage where Tiffany, Straton, and Kiana James are talking about, you warmed me up for Becky, Kiana. And Kiana's like, finally, if it's really good to finally talk to a woman backstage who's competent and got like, the head on the shoulders. And like, I know we're not each other's biggest fans, but tonight we're going to teach Becky a lesson because we both don't want to hear. Tiffany Stratton turns around and says, I've got a plan for her, so don't worry about it. It's all going to go down, So that match is coming up very, very soon. We stay backstage to where Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen are talking to Fallon Henley about why the hell did Miles Bourne turn on him last week. Fallon Henley sticking up for Miles, saying, he's hanging around with the wrong people. And obviously the two lads are like, why the hell are you sticking up for him? He betrayed us, blah, blah, blah. But Fallon's like, no, he's a good person. I fancy him, okay? That's what she's really saying. I fancy him. I want him. I want to be my BF. Then it can be JB, BJ, BF, and FH all hanging together in the bar, drinking those pints, baby. That's what we're going to be doing. I am talking nonsense, probably because it's just a weird segment. Because then Baron Corbin comes up and goes, "Will you guys shut up? No one cares about what's going on. It's not my fault. It's nobody else's fault." And it's your fault that you got outsmarted by a rookie on his very first match. So deal with it. So shut up and try to get a massage. So Josh Briggs turns around to him and says, you're going to be needing another massage if you keep on talking about this locker room like that. You're saying we're soft. So I'm assuming that's probably going to be setting up a match later on down the line between one of the Cowboys and one of Baron Corbin's. I was going to say, I didn't know there was two of them. One of the Cowboys versus Baron Corbin. God, I feel like I've been talking about NXT for ages, guys. I am flagging, but luckily we are getting to the end of it. It's been a good week this week, though. I've actually enjoyed NXT. It's just been a crazy week. Carmelo Hayes gets he gets caught and interviewed backstage just as he's about to leave, and he says Ilya Dragunov, who's like walking around here pretending he's already the NXT champion. Well, do you know what? He isn't. And next week, all right, no mercy, I'm going to solve that. I'm going to show him why I'm him. I'm going to hang his t-shirt in the rafters again, because that's how I show I beat people. Which I'm taking the piss out of it, but I actually really love that. I'm not going to lie. We now go to the main event, guys. It is Tiffany Straton and Kiana James versus Becky Lynch. We think it's going to be 2-on-1 because Becky Lynch is coming out, and then both of these girls just absolutely jump her and beat the crap out of her, beat her down. But then coming to the rescue is Lyra Valkyria. Boom. I'll tell you what I didn't like about this match. I'm just going to throw it out there. I do like Becky Lynch in NXT. I like that she's come back down to NXT. I think she can have a load of great matches with a couple of people, and I don't think it's going to be a very, very long run, but at the same time, I don't think it's just going to be a couple of weeks either. Hopefully, she'll stay on after No Mercy for a little bit, because it leaves space on Raw for someone else to pick up the reins and maybe fill a spot in the main event. What I have a problem with is she kind of makes people look a bit crap. Not a lot of people get offense in on her in NXT, and I don't think that's her fault. I think that's just the way they're booking her at the moment. Like Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James didn't get that much offense in this match. I mean, Lyra Valkyria looked really good, but it was very one-sided tag team match in my opinion. Apart from in the middle where Tiffany and Kiana got a bit of offense in. But there was a lot of points in this match where these two were just absolutely running circles around them, just beating the hell out of them. Obviously, Tiffany Stratton is always great in this ring. She hits that beautiful swanton bomb again that she hit last week. But we'll talk about the end of the match where Becky Lynch tags in Lyra Valkyria without Kiana James noticing. She hits Kiana with a manhandle slam. Then Lyra comes off the top rope into the splash for the 1-2-3. Now, that isn't the end of NXT, though, because as obviously Becky and Lyra are celebrating, Tiffany Stratton hits them both with a chair. Boom, boom, boom. Tiffany Stratton is very, very proud of herself. But while she's walking off, Becky Lynch asks for a microphone, grabs the microphone and says, "Is that how you want to do it? Yeah, Tiff? You want some of this? You want some of this? Yeah, Tiff? Next week is going to be an Extreme Rules match, baby." Wait, next week? Oh yeah, technically it is next week because it's a week on Saturday. No Mercy is a week on Saturday. So for the NXT Championship, it is going to be Tiffany Stratton versus Becky Lynch in an Extreme Rules match. Yes, take my money. I can't wait to see that. No Mercy is looking to be a really, really good show. I can't wait for it, and I'm thinking of watching it live. I'm not gonna lie. I'm planning on watching it live. So hopefully I'll be on TikTok for that. But I will be obviously throwing up the review as well for you guys when I'll be covering No Mercy. But before we get to No Mercy, we do have another NXT in store. A couple of great matches for that next week. It looks like we are having the final, yes, of Pete Dunne and Joe Coffey. So whoever wins that is going to go on to face Noam Dar at No Mercy. So I cannot wait for that. There's going to be a great tag team match next week, I believe. I think it's going to be Nima and Price versus Hank and Tank. So, sorry guys, that was very unprofessional. But something was just really annoying me. I ate cereal this morning, and there's just something stuck in my teeth, and I've just been dealing with it for the whole show, baby. But that's what you're here for, right? You're here for those little things, you get here to get to know me better, I suppose. But guys, that has been your episode of NXT this week. That has been your review. Obviously, by the end there, I was flagging a little bit, but I hope you don't think I thought the NXT this week was crap. I just thought there was a lot of segments, but we got a lot of really good matches in there. We had two great tournament matches, and then they had another tournament match at the end where that was that lovely, lovely little triple threat. The tag team match in the main event was really cool, and Dominic Mysterio versus Carmelo Hayes. It could have gone on a little bit longer, but for me, it really showed how good Dominic Mysterio is getting in that ring. But what do you think of NXT this week, guys? Let me know in the comments. Did you enjoy it? Have you even watched it yet? Does my review make you want to go and watch it? Does my review make you want to never watch NXT again? You can say yeah. You can say yeah. I won't be offended or anything, I promise. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you put a thumbs up and like the video. If you're enjoying the content that we're bringing out, make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep updated. Tomorrow, stay tuned for the podcast because we are going to be going over the men PWI top 500 wrestlers of the past year, giving our thoughts, giving our opinions. You can join the whole gang for that. You can also follow us on TikTok, X, aka Twitter, and Instagram at OutcastedOC. So please go and follow us there, guys. We're going to be posting content on there, obviously, of course. Like I say, stay tuned for tomorrow's podcast. We're going to be back for the Saturday for the SmackDown review, and then Ross is going to be bringing you this week in AEW, where he covers Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. But for now, guys, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Wednesday. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and this has been NXT. Peace out.